So, big question. Do kids need to take vitamins and mineral supplements or any other regular supplement?
Yeah, it's a question I get all the time. And the answer isn't really straightforward. So I'm going to explain why. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, said, let food be thy medicine. And this is a wisdom that I personally value greatly. It's the reason that I started Well Nourished as opposed to an online supplement company. Although I think sometimes a supplement company would have been way more lucrative financially, but diet is so important and food definitely needs to come first. I really believe that you cannot out-supplement an unhealthy diet. So you can't, have a lot of people think, well, I'll just eat rubbish but take really good supplements, and it just doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Food is foundational. It's at our core, and it's why I'm so passionate about educating both adults to help kids to learn to love eating real food and finding systems and strategies to make sure that food is a part of, like whole foods are a part of their lives.
Is it because the body doesn't assimilate supplements like it does food?
100%.
Okay.
I just don't think that we can, I think, and supplement companies and pharmaceutical companies will tell you that they can replicate nature.
Yeah.
But
true.
we can't.
Yeah.
We can't.
Yeah.
There are certain things that, I don't know if this is true, but someone's told me before that chemically we can replicate salt water, seawater.
Sorry.
Bless you. We can replicate seawater, but it doesn't sustain life. So I feel like there's a life force that's attached to food that just isn't there with a supplement.
Yep.
Having said that, I'm a naturopath. So, I'm well versed in the science of supplementation.
Yeah.
And supplementation for frank deficiency, I feel, is important.
What does frank deficiency mean?
So when someone actually has a clinical deficiency of a nutrient.
Okay.
So, it's important and it's necessary to avert or treat disease or a disorder. It is medicine. Supplements are medicine. So, for example, if a child has a blood test and they're found to be suffering from iron deficiency anemia, then iron supplementation is necessary for a period of time. But it's always, always important and critical beyond everything else. It's not enough to just supplement that iron deficiency. Okay. You always need to find the underlying cause that actually predisposes that child or that adult to any deficiency. This needs to be identified. It needs to be corrected while supplementing, of course. It may be dietary. It may be that they're eating lots of iron-rich foods, but their digestive system isn't, perhaps this is a very common scenario, which is why I'm using it. Their digestive system is below par. And so it's not able to assimilate those nutrients efficiently. So it's never enough to simply supplement in the hope that the cause will just correct itself. And I see so many people just on this bandwagon of just, going from one supplement to another. And also, there's certain supplements that you can't run tests on. They're, they're not stored in the body. Iron's stored in the body, so we can test for that. Yeah. But so many other vitamins and minerals aren't actually stored in our body. So we could run a blood test or a test one day and be completely fine, and the next day could test for we could be deficient in a whole range of different things. So we're only seeing a little snippet of the big picture. And often when people are iron deficient, as a naturopath, and as I said, after taking like a case history, clinically you can recognise that it's not just iron that's the issue. Often it's something like zinc, for example, because zinc and iron are found in similar foods. So often, where there's an iron deficiency, if it is dietary related, and sometimes it is just that food, there's certain foods that need to be increased in the diet. But, just a word about iron, because it is something that a lot of parents are told to give their kids in order to kind of pep them up. Iron supplementation, it should only be given if a blood test actually confirms deficiency. I can't tell you how many parents over the years I've met that are just randomly giving their kids or even themselves iron because they think they're deficient, because they're a bit tired. Excess amounts of supplemental iron are quite toxic. So we need to be very, very careful with supplementation. And I'm going to go into that in a bit more detail in a moment. But I just wanted to cover also those cover all bases multivitamins. So as I said, I feel like there's no shortcuts when it comes to health. So, in your lifetime, you do need to your energy and your focus needs to be firmly grounded in making every mouthful count, or as many mouthfuls as possible count, with feeding yourself and your kids whole nourishing foods. There's no supplement, like I initially said, that can replicate that life force, that balanced nutrition in real food. Nature gives us these foods in perfect balance. It doesn't give us foods like, with just one single nutrient in it. So then often we'll supplement that single nutrient and it can throw the balance of other nutrients out. So we do need to be really careful. But, I'm a realist and I understand that for many reasons, some things go a little pear-shaped and, we are exposed and we do have access to lots of foods that aren't necessarily overly nourishing. Anything that's processed, is not nourishing, but sometimes, even I'm guilty of handing over minimally processed. I try and keep things minimally processed, but, minimally processed snack just to fill a gap, especially now I'm trying to feed a 6'3" teenage boy who's still growing. I'm like, for the first time in my life, I've actually bought some snacks to keep in the cupboard because I just cannot keep up with
so
him.
easy to do, even when I remember when my kids were little. And I might be,
you're on the go or in holidays or whatever, and you need to fill a gap. So, and also, we live in a world where perhaps our soils are depleted and our food is only as nourishing as the soil that it's growing in. So we have a lot riding against us these days in this modern world.
Stress
Totally monocultures being grown in depleted soil and and stress as well is a massive factor. But in these cases, I hate to admit, but I do believe that a good quality multivitamin is something that a lot of people would benefit from considering, particularly on days where they aren't able to perhaps eat a great variety of whole foods. I personally see it as a bit of an insurance policy. Offering, perhaps a little protection, but ultimately that's each individual's call.
And is a multivitamin, because how you were saying before, you got to be really careful with supplementation because you can throw the balance out.
And look, and that's one of the other reasons that I like a multi, because it has just a little bit of this and that.
Bit of a balance.
It's a bit of a balance, but you're kind of just covering all bases with very small doses, not just supplementing one massive amount of one single nutrient. So, that's my personal opinion on multivitamins. However, practitioner-only products that, like a good quality multi, I really, for children, love whole food-based multis. The lolly or kind of gummy bear style supplements that I've personally, that I've looked at personally, I think they're a bit of a waste of money.
Okay.
There's some good chewable tablets around. There's some good powders around, but there are some good whole food based multis. Organics do some good. I think they do a reds and greens formula. That's like it's whole foods based. There's a brand I've looked at called Foraged, which has is a lovely food based supplement for children as well.
I've used that for the iron for me. Foraged.
Okay. So there are, I know Bioceuticals do a great powdered, I think, kids multi. So there are definitely some around. And obviously, with any kind of supplement, you need compliance.
Yeah.
So
true.
Some kids are not going to be accepting of anything with certain taste. Most of the kids-based multis are targeted to taste good. So that's the upside of that. But you are not only what you eat, you are definitely what you absorb, even when it comes to vitamins and mineral supplements, obviously, as well as diet. So just backtracking to one of the most common underlying causes of frank nutritional deficiency in children is poor absorption and assimilation of nutrients. And, the digestive system working below par. And so if you suspect that your child's digestion is not up to scratch, they may have some signs and symptoms of this being the case. They may have taken antibiotics or other medications, or even lots of pain relief in their lifetime. If they're suffering with allergies or food intolerances, then they're all signs and symptoms that perhaps their digestive system isn't as functional as it should be, or if they're just not already eating a good variety of whole foods. Our digestive system is very reflective. It likes the bacteria that live in our gut have a diverse appetite for a range of different foods. So children who are eating very restricted diets often develop digestive issues. It's a bit of a catch-22 situation, but, looking at the digestive system, I think I've lost track of where we're at with publishing our podcast, but if we don't already, we will have a podcast on digestion. But getting support for supporting the digestive system from a naturopath is, I think, a really great idea. They're great at supporting digestive health, and there's so many different everyday ways that you can do that. It's not that difficult. If your child has taken lots of medication, particularly antibiotics, I do believe in probiotic supplementation. So it would be one of the more common supplements that I would prescribe for children when I was in practice. Good quality probiotics, they're not all created equal. They need to be refrigerated. Your supermarket brands of probiotics, again, I feel are a big waste of money. Probiotics like Inner Health would be one of the brands that I generally recommend it because it is everywhere.
Yeah.
It's in all health food shops, in all pharmacies, and it's very easily accessible. So I try and keep things as accessible as possible. And they have a range of different probiotics that are targeted to different needs and requirements. So, if your child is more prone to allergies, there's certain strains that are going to be more beneficial. If your child's just taken antibiotics, there's other kind of broad spectrum probiotics that are going to be the better choices. So,
yeah. And I found with my kids when they were little, the probiotics and the powders, they were kind of good to sprinkle on top
they're
of
tasteless. They're great for compliance. Great for compliance. Yeah. You wouldn't even know. Unlike multis, your kids wouldn't even know that they were taking probiotics.
Yeah.
So,
great.
Obviously within the diet, just briefly, as I said, we'll go into lots of detail in a separate podcast about supporting digestive health, but fermented vegetables are a rich source of probiotics, things like sauerkraut, kimchi, natural full-fat yogurt. I love kefir. I actually feel that kefir is more potent than yogurt personally. And you can get both dairy-free and dairy-based kefir. I personally love the taste as well of kefir.
I do too.
Yeah. There are so many different ways that you can support the health of your child's gut flora particularly. My take-home message really at the end of all of this is diet first, sensible supplementation, so preferably under the guidance of a well-qualified practitioner, addressing the underlying cause always if there is any frank deficiency that's been detected, and just always making sure that the gut is healthy and able to absorb and assimilate all of the goodness from the food that you're eating as well as the supplements that you're taking.
Yeah. And I think I love the point you make about sensible supplementation and kind of just to be aware that things can have side effects, because I think they're on the supermarket shelf now.
And look, there's so many, and so marketed, so well
social
marketed.
Media feeds, just
so
about
well
this
marketed.
and that.
Yeah, and just bearing in mind that I feel like sometimes whenever I'm looking at a product that's making big claims, you need to be really cautious.
Yeah.
And we are all individual. We are so individual.
Yeah.
I would see 2 children in my clinical practice in the same day with very, very similar symptoms, but after taking a full case history, I might discover that one child, their digestive system isn't perhaps working to, as well as it should be. So I'd be going hard at starting at that place. the other child that has presented with the exact same health conditions, after taking a full case history, I might find that that child's suffering with dreadful anxiety, and there's a lot of stuff going on with their mental health, and perhaps other issues that are causing them stress in their lifetime, in their lives.
So more nervous system.
Yeah, so then I would be supporting their nervous system, because their
totally
nervous system
different.
is most likely causing their gut to be shut down.
Yes.
So if I just do work on their gut, I'm actually missing the root cause. So,
totally.
you go to the root cause, you address the root cause, and then you build from there. And it is, for me, addressing the root cause is like laying solid foundations for that person's health. You'll get results with that anxious child, or that child that has a nervous system kind of under a root cause. I'd get results if I went straight to their digestive health. They would more than likely start feeling better. But as soon as they stop supplementing, they're back to square one. The anxiety still hasn't been dealt with.
Because you haven't,
I haven't dealt with the root cause. Yeah.
Yep.
So, I liken treating the root cause to building a house. If you can build a house just by erecting a floor and building walls. But if you don't lay solid foundations in that house, it's not going to stay upright for too long. And I feel like health is exactly the same. When you take a holistic approach to health, you actually get long-term results and long-term benefits from doing so.
Yeah. And as you're talking, I'm thinking it is better, because sometimes, when your kids are little and you don't have a lot of spare cash, it can feel like expensive to invest in going to see someone and getting their opinion. But I'm just thinking of when you actually get to the root cause and you can support that healing, you actually, it's like a tree. If there's rot, you're never gonna, need to.
And that's again, and supplements that you buy online, because someone else has said this worked for or from a friend said, oh, this worked for my kid when they were feeling the same way your kid's feeling. It's still expensive, and it's a waste of money.
Yes, if it's not the right supplement.
It is a real waste of money just to kind of that try it and see approach. I'm not a fan of personally. I'd rather actually invest in dealing with the issue at its basic root cause. Anyhow, I'm not in clinical practice any longer. I'm not trying to sell myself as the person that you need to see. But I firmly believe that addressing the root cause is always the place to start when you do suspect any kind of nutritional deficiency. So hopefully that helps you to at least think about supplementation, and if what you're doing as far as supplementation or not doing as far as supplementation is the way forward.